Time now for Sit Sixero. This is where I get 60 seconds to talk about anything I want. Start the clock, please. Here's what's on my mind this morning. The Blue Jays need to shut George Springer down for the season immediately. The reason is because they need to save him from himself. Earlier this year, he rushed back from injury only to injure his quad further, missed a bunch of time, then came back, had a great stretch, then injured himself again. He returned this week. Guess what? Got hurt again. Tuesday night against the Orioles. Same knee that got banged up in Seattle seemed to be the problem. The other problem is that he didn't want to come out of the game. And that's the big issue with me. Springer wants to play. I get it. But here's the thing. You're paying him $150 million. Aside from Vladdy, he's your best player. He has a history of rushing back from injury. Jays have an 8% chance of making the postseason. At some point, you have to think about next year. And Springer's long-term health on top of that. A reminder, he's 31 years old. It's not about this year. This year's kind of done. Time to think about 2022. Just my opinion. The opinion of our next guest you may hold in higher regard. Dan Shulman, the voice of the Toronto Blue Jays, is kind enough to join us this morning after calling the game last night. Danny, love you. Thank you for doing this. Am I over the top in my concern for wanting to put bubble wrap around George and get ready for spring training next year?
I guess what we don't know, obviously the medical staff, the training staff, they've had a look at whatever they've had a look at it, and they've decided it's not the kind of thing that he can really do a lot more damage to. So I understand your concern, but I think if they were concerned about next year and him suffering a serious knee injury because it's not 100% sound right now, I think they would shut him down. The 8% thing is interesting. You put it that way, it doesn't sound very good, but I think they got to ride this out a little bit longer. They got a big series coming up against Oakland. They sweep them, and they're ahead of Oakland, if my math is correct.
Yes,
the problem is
right.
the team they really got to catch, they're not playing anymore, and that's the Red Sox. So I think you got to see how it plays out over the next little while.
Day off today, as Dan mentioned, Oakland taking on the Jays this weekend. So, Dan, and I was looking at the schedule, and I was thinking the same thing. If it's not a sweep against the A's, who are about 2.5 games ahead of them in the standings right now, does it feel like a wrap?
It ain't over till it's over, as a wise man once said. I think if it's not 2 out of 3, it's a wrap. If you lose 2 out of 3, it all depends on what the Red Sox are doing too. But again, 4.5 back of the Red Sox. I think the Jays have 30 left. Like, crazier things have happened, but they've got to pass 3 teams: Seattle, Oakland, Boston. The math, as you said, is against them. But I never want to say it's a wrap with a month left in the season. You just got to win the game you're playing that day and hope you gain ground on somebody. Hope the Red Sox stumble. They're having some major COVID issues right now. So I think it's still a little bit too early for, proclamations that you can't go back on if things don't go that way that day. But I'll tell you what, if they hadn't won last night, I don't know if it had been a wrap, but it would have looked really bleak. They really, really needed to win that game.
There would have been a feeling this morning, Dan, if they would have lost that game last night. So as we wrap up, here's your choice at home. My opinion, and one of the greatest Canadian broadcasters of all time. You decide at home. Dan Shulman, the one and only from Sportsnet. Have a great day, Dan. Enjoy it.
You as well, Sid.
Again, the Jays off today, begin a weekend series Friday against the Oakland A's. It is a big one. We're going to take a break. Yesterday was a big one. Huge announcement from the province. Vaccine passports are coming in paper form September 22nd. You got to have it. You can have it on your phone with a QR code as of October 22nd. What do you think? 1-866-267-3797. Feedback at breakfasttelevision.ca, at Breakfast TV on Twitter, 24/7. A lot to talk about here. Faiza and I will take all your reaction coming up after the break. Good Thursday morning, Toronto. You're watching BT.